Today we will understand about marginal costing basics. So marginal costing revolves around this format. Sales less variable cost, sales less variable cost gives a contribution which from which if you subtract fixed cost it will give you profit or loss. Okay. So if I say sales less variable cost contribution less fixed cost is profit or loss. So if it means contribution, if it is more than fixed cost, it means it's a profit. Contribution is less than fixed cost, it means it's a loss. And contribution is equal to fixed cost, it means there is no profit, no loss. Right? This all we are speaking at one level of units produced. Okay. So when units produced, if it is 500, accordingly the sales will be given. Like assume the sales is 2000 rupees for 500 units. Variable cost is 1000. So contribution becomes 1000. And assume the fixed cost is to be 500. Then you have a profit of 500 rupees. Okay. So this is for 500 units level. Okay. Now, what does the marginal costing means? Marginal costing means any one unit, every unit you increase according to the changes in the cost. That is called marginal costing. So from 500, if you increase your units of production to 501. So first we should know what is the per unit cost. If this is the total amount, what is the per unit cost? So 2000 divided by 500. So it is 4 rupees. 1000 divided by 500, it is 2 rupees. This is also 2. Fixed cost never have any relationship with the units produced. Okay. So the amount will remain constant. So we never calculate its cost per unit. Okay. We'll leave it blank. Okay. It doesn't mean we can't calculate. It's not required because its amount remains constant. Okay. And after that your profit is been given. So normally we require the per unit only up to the contribution. Fixed cost, profit and loss, profit or loss, whatever you have got, you can find the cost per unit. But here fixed cost per unit is not important, but the amount is important, as amount doesn't change with the number of units produced. So if we are making the column for 501 units, it will become units produced 501, assume. So our sales will become, first I'll write the format, sales less variable cost, contribution less fixed cost will give you profit or loss. If it is in brackets, it's loss. If it's in positive, we'll write simple way. I'll write first down the cost per unit because cost per unit remains constant, as there is no presently in our question we are not assuming any changes happening. So the sales per unit is constant. Variable cost per unit remains constant because they have the relationship with the units produced. So we are considering cost per unit in that case. So remember, variable cost has direct relationship with the units produced. So we will always consider its cost per unit. But it's not the case with the fixed cost. Fixed cost doesn't have any relationship with units produced. So we take the amount 500. Okay. So now we'll start solving. So we will multiply all this with the, so we'll multiply 501 into 4 and we'll get the sales value. Okay. It will become Correct? Right? So this is what, because of 1 unit increase, the change in our profit. So our profit has reduced as the units produced has increased. With considering that there is no change in any cost or cost per unit. It means we have not changed a selling price also, any cost or selling price or anything we have not changed. Keeping all the things constant from 500 units to 501 units also. This is the change happening in our profit because of increase in 1 unit of production. So marginal costing speaks about this. So what it is further we have to discuss is contribution. When it is more than fixed cost, it means it's a profit. Contribution is less than fixed cost, it means loss. Contribution is equal to fixed cost, it means no profit, no loss. Now this is to be considered. Like contribution when it is equal to fixed cost, it is a position where is no profit, no loss. No loss. What does it mean? That is one point of sale. So if we take the same example, assume the same example above, sales less variable cost, contribution less fixed cost is, we don't have any profit or loss. Okay, I will say your profit or loss, but we will write in rupees. There is zero. No profit, no loss. I'll continue all the cost per unit values. Cost per unit 4, 2, 2. Okay, because it has direct relationship with the units produced, this remains constant. Okay, and we are not assuming any changes happening. So 422 I'm copying the same. Fixed cost I'm copying same. As I said, fixed cost amount remains constant. So I have written. If you have going through any question which says fixed cost has changed, then that change has to be considered. But in my example, I'm not considering any changes in the cost per unit of variable cost. Neither selling price change is happening, neither fixed cost amount is change is happening in my question. So I'm writing down the same values from the above. Okay. So now I know there is no profit, no loss. So it's a zero. Fixed cost is 500. So shall I say contribution is equal to fixed cost? When I say like this, immediately it should flash like 500 is the value amount and 2 is the cost per unit. Means what should be by units produced? So can I say it is 250 units? Right? Understood? Means I'm going reverse. If profit and loss is zero, means there is no profit, no loss. I have fixed cost which I am incurring. So my contribution should be equal to fixed cost. So I copied this amount same from the fixed cost. That contribution is same amount. If my contribution should be the same amount as fixed cost and my cost per unit remains constant as per the logic we always followed, that sales has direct relationship with units produced, variable cost has direct relationship with units produced, so cost per unit remains constant. That is the reason contribution is 2 I have taken. So if my amount is 500 contribution and my cost per unit is rupees 2, can I say 250 units is what I can produce where my no profit, no loss position comes. So what should be my sales? Can I say 250 units multiplied by my selling price 4 is my sales. So this is the sale amount. What is my variable cost? 250 into 2. I did and I got my variable cost amount 500. Means remember, the point to remember, profit and loss zero is that position which is called break even point. Break even point, break even point. It is that point at which there is no profit, no loss. It is a point. So the pointer is, I will write it down. It's a point where there is no profit, no loss. It is the point where your contribution is equal to fixed cost. It is a point where beyond this point, now beyond when I say it's increasing or decreasing, both places it will become. So beyond this point, we will either make loss or profit depending on which direction we are moving. Okay, we'll discuss in detail later. So break even point we are speaking is that sales point. This break even point is the sales point. Means in this, which is that point, it is this 1,000. If you say in value, it is 1,000 rupees. And if we say in units, it is 250 units. So what does it mean? That if we are making going beyond this units, means we are making 251 units or more, keeping all these values constant, like cost per unit and fixed cost doesn't change, then we will start making profits. But if we sell less than less than 250, if we sell less than 250, we will make losses. This assumption is going keeping all these values constant, like cost per unit remains constant of variable cost, selling price remains constant, and fixed cost amount remains constant. Then this will be the case. Same for the value also. It will, as your units increase, as your sales increase, you will make profits. If the sale is less than this 1,000 rupees, you will make losses. Okay. So this is the break even point. So break even point helps us to determine which point, at what point we should try to achieve, and beyond which point we should go to make profits, and below which we will be make mostly make losses. Okay. Now the margin of safety. Margin of safety is actual sales minus break even point sales. Means, as you see in this example, in the first scenario, we were making sales of 2,000. And at the break even point, we are making the sales of 1,000. Correct? Means actual sales is 2,000, means present. Actual when we say means present. Right now we are making assume 2,000 rupees sales and break even point is 1,000 rupees. Means we are safe side that we are making more sales by 1,000 rupees, which is called margin of safety. So margin of safety help us to understand how we are safer, how we are away safer from the break even point sales. Okay, next, PV ratio. PV ratio is contribution by sales. It helps us to understand how much we are getting directly profit, direct profit from the product. That is why, because in this marginal costing, we divide the total cost into two parts. Whole cost, whichever the cost we incurred on the product, we divide always in under marginal costing into two. One is variable, other is fixed. And one more is that called semi-variable. But semi-variable we always segregate and put it under variable and fixed to the extent which relates to fixed and which to the extent relates to variable. Now what we should understand what is variable and fixed. Variable cost is the cost which is directly related to the product. Related to the product. Means if you wouldn't have made that product, this cost we can eliminate. We may need not incur it. Fixed cost is irrespectively whether you make the product, make less, make more, you have to incur that fixed cost because of running the business. You may avoid this fixed cost on stopping the business or closing down the business. But for making the product, what you incur is called variable cost, which is also called as marginal cost. Okay. So when we calculate PV ratio, which is contribution by sales, which when we are calculating contribution, we consider only the variable cost. Why? Because contribution comes after sales minus variable cost, right? So contribution considers only the cost related to the product reduced from the sale. We are not reducing the other costs other than the product cost from the sales at this point. So it means sales minus variable cost is giving contribution. Means from the sales, pure sales, we are reducing only the product related cost and finding the contribution. So when we find PV ratio, it gives us the correct profit ratio which we have got from the product before reducing any other cost related to the business which is not related to the product directly. That costs are related to the business, not for the product. Okay, that are those costs which are not avoidable on doing the business. Okay, fixed cost is not product cost. It's related business related cost. Right? So contribution in the sales gives us the profit ratio, which is called PV ratio, which gives us the profitability directly related to the product.